time there was truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice, and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hey there, Jordan Sheridan, live in your phone or browser on this day after Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa to all. I think today's Kwanzaa. Hope everyone had a nice holiday. For those that are excited to be away from their family, I'm glad you're joining me today. What did we do for Christmas? Just hung around. Ate, what did I eat yesterday?
French food.
French. I had French. I relaxed. I watched Designated Survivor, which is, it's okay. It's kind of like West Wing, but I'm just killing time until Homeland is back. But it's my brother's wedding, New Year's Eve. My brother's getting married, so I guess I've just been hanging out till then. It's going to be a big event. A lot of Charitans will be there. I think there's an open bar, dessert. No black and white cookies, but there will be hot dog wieners at the cocktail hour, so I'm excited about that. And until then, let's do the thing. Let's do the thing. It's Boxing Day today too. Wow, we already got 220 people watching. And Jen was like, "Oh, people will be, putting away their gifts and not paying attention." No, we don't take off. We need a status quo in this country, and I took off for Christmas, but no more. So, before we get to the news, I need every single one of you watching right now, press that like button. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see this very live stream. I would like to get as many people watching, liking. So we got 230 people watching, 100 likes. We need 230 more of you to press that like button. Even if you don't like me, just fake it. Did we ever get the exercise video? That's true, you did not. Can we do that tomorrow?
Sure.
All right, my girlfriend will shoot the exercise video. Actually, today, after a grueling 6 months, was my last day of physical therapy. For those of you that don't know, I did have back surgery in May, and I've been doing physical therapy, and I finished today. So, knock on wood. This sturdy back. I think I'm gonna start Pilates soon too. So wait for those videos. It'll be scandalous. Make sure, if you haven't yet, we really want to grow our text alert system. To make it simple, YouTube is hiding us in a cave. So we love seeing messages from people saying, "Oh, I didn't get a notification, but I got your text." That means these people are coming to our live stream because we're sending them a text. And they wouldn't be watching us without that text because YouTube isn't notifying them. So all you got to do this Christmas holiday season is text 474747 and type in COUP. Maybe I'll do a commercial with like my father doing it so we could explain to people how easy it is because he's not exactly technologically aware, I would say. So text text 474747 and then Coup. You'll join our email list, our text list. Now, also follow us at Status Coup. We're live on Periscope right now. Also follow us at twitch.tv/Status Coup. Another great way and alternative outlet than YouTube, and join our email list at statuscoup.com. This is how we grow. This is how we grow. And I just saw somebody mention Nina Turner. I'll be interviewing her next week. I just confirmed, so that's exciting too. Now, what's so interesting to me is CNN in particular, but really all the corporate outlets, they've really done this merry-go-round of establishment candidates that they've been trying to basically prop up. Oh, I should say, this is a super chat. So if you got a couple bucks left over after your holiday buying gifts, let us know. We really support your super chat. We really appreciate your super chats, as well as everybody signing up to be a member, which we'll get to in a bit. So they've all been pushing. I mean, first it was Kamala Harris. They pushed. She had nothing much there. Then they pushed Beto O'Rourke, standing on bars, nothing there. Then they were very happy Joe Biden got in, but then they realized, oh my God, he can't construct a full sentence without stumbling and mumbling, so they were a little worried. Then they started propping up Mayor Pee Wee Herman, Pete Buttigieg, who, if you've been paying attention, we just got back from South Bend, Indiana, where I was for a few days, and it's just unbelievable to me that this guy has been propped up to this level. I mean, he is the definition of an empty, privileged vessel. There's nothing there, but the media has propped him up to his current, in some cases, front-runner status in Iowa and elsewhere. So we're going to play some of that coverage today. So all while they've been doing this, and now they're, obviously they propped up Elizabeth Warren for a bit. Now they're taking, they're getting on the Amy Klobuchar train. But all the while, they've just acted like Bernie Sanders doesn't exist, which is amazing to me. Bernie Sanders consistently in second place in most polls. There was a time when he dipped into third when Warren, had her surge. But overall, consistently second place. Most volunteers, most individual donations. Thank you, Kelly Elaine, $10 in the super chat, always coming through. Keep burning, folks. What a difference he and we will make. I love that. Snorky Y2K, $2. Have a fantastic fart wink day. Is that a thing? Fart wink? Thank you for the $2. So they basically, in a way, it almost helped Bernie because they've kind of just been ignoring him. And as such, by ignoring him, they've just let his campaign just do their thing. The organizing, obviously their campaign, Bernie's campaign, trying very hard to expand the electorate, knocking on doors of voters who don't vote, knocking on first-time voters' doors, knocking on young people's doors that weren't of age to vote in 2016 but now are. They're trying to expand the voter base, particularly in Iowa, but also in New Hampshire. So the media has just been basically ignoring him. I mean, literally ignoring him. You'll see headlines, Biden still in first, but Warren a strong third. I mean, just laughable headlines where they pretend that there's like 2 is not between 1 and 3. There are headlines where Bernie Sanders is leading the poll, and they'll write the headline, frontrunner status unclear in Iowa. I mean, they've just been ignoring. And while the media has ignored, I mean, you remember this from, I think this was April. Yeah, there was private meetings going on in New York City. You had Terry McAuliffe, Clinton acolyte, former governor of Virginia, was there. Who else was at this dinner? Terry. Yeah, Terry McAuliffe. Mayor Pete was at this behind closed doors dinner. Nancy Pelosi, Senator Schumer, and our friend Neera Tanden, all getting together in the comfy confines of New York City, Washington, D.C. for a series of dinners. It wasn't just one. And a top discussion was just, how do we stop the Bernie train? This is the New York Times in April. So there has been activity to stop Bernie Sanders. You also see the subtle rigging by the DNC. As I've reported, you've had paid consultants for the DNC going on CNN and other places, bashing Bernie Sanders with zero disclosure that they are paid consultants for the DNC. But putting all that aside, all of a sudden, less than 6 weeks before Iowa, it's like a collective light bulb has gone off. Wait a minute. Bernie Sanders, on the average of Iowa polls, according to Real Clear Politics, is within the margin of error for first place. He's down 2 percentage points to Mayor Pete. According to the Real Clear Politics New Hampshire polls, he's in first place. According to the a recent poll in South Carolina, I think the Post-Courier, Bernie Sanders was down 7 points to Joe Biden, which if Bernie Sanders loses South Carolina by 7 points, that will be a shock heard round the political world. If anybody comes within 10 points of Joe Biden in South Carolina, it will be considered kind of a victory for second place, especially considering Bernie Sanders got crushed in South Carolina in 2016. We have Nevada, where polls have shown Bernie either in first or a close second. California, recent polls have Bernie Sanders in first place. But the media has essentially, their solution has been, let's pretend it's not happening. Because I think their strategy is shenanigans. I mean, I tweeted it out yesterday, but you see in California all of a sudden, people are Democrats who registered to be Democrats are showing up, no party preference. This is the same thing that happened in 2016. We're seeing stories in California. I also saw one in New Hampshire where voters are suddenly who registered to be Democrats are showing up not registered. So it's not getting much coverage, but we know the shenanigans is happening. And there's been theories that, well, maybe this lack of attention by the corporate media is a good thing. Maybe it, instead of submerging him with negative coverage, which there's been plenty of negative coverage, but maybe if their main focus is Biden, Klobuchar, Warren, Pete, maybe that's good for Bernie. Thank you, PJ Coin, €12. No, that's 12 pounds. Do you think Barbara Lee will endorse Bernie? And if so, what effect will it have in California? No. Barbara Lee endorsed Kamala Harris. If she's going to endorse again, my money is on Elizabeth Warren. My money's on Elizabeth Warren for Barbara Lee. No inside knowledge. My guess is just she was, if all things are equal, she wants to endorse a woman. So, why do I keep getting this wrong? All right, 2 lines are euros. Okay, 2 lines are euros. 1 is pounds. So, it's been incredible the last 3 days. All of a sudden, the media is finally. This is why status quo exists, because it's amazing how out of touch these people are. I think it's intentionally out of touch, but all you got to do is go out into the country, and it's very, very much, very, very right in your face that not only could Bernie Sanders win Iowa, Bernie Sanders might win Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada. It's possible he wins California too. So I just want to remind you how far we have come. This was our friend at CNN, the Wizard of Odds, I think Chris Cillizza calls him. This was Harry Enton, this tall glass of nothing. In July, Bernie Sanders is in big trouble. Bernie Sanders is in big trouble. This is Jennifer Rubin of the Washington Post. Sanders likely can't turn it around, but Biden can. Here's how. That's a gem from July also. I mean, if I looked for hours, I could find 25 other funeral announcements for Bernie Sanders' political career and campaign. But now, all of a sudden, people are waking up. David Axelrod, another empty vessel. Bernie Sanders told me during the X-Files in August, when he was down in the polls, that he'd win the Iowa caucuses. I was skeptical then, but not today. As we approach 2020, Sanders' wins in both Iowa and New Hampshire are no lead pipe cinch, but easy to imagine. I don't know why he had to mention lead pipes. It's a crisis all over the country, but I digress. Okay, so David Axelrod's taking you seriously. That means the Obama world is taking you seriously. Now, all of a sudden, the New York Times, who tried to, they really were fixated. Remember that story where, Bernie, you went to Nicaragua, you were at a rally, and you heard anti-American sentiment, Bernie. Why didn't you do anything, Bernie? Well, yeah, I mean, we were killing their people through the Contras, so yeah. But Bernie, you heard anti-American sentiment. Yeah, Nicaragua's people were being killed by the Contras, so they were a little upset. But Bernie, remember that? Remember the story where they tried to make it seem like Bernie brought the Soviet Union back to Burlington to try and spook them? But now they're getting now they got to face reality. I'm not reading this whole article, but all of a sudden, stuff they could have reported 6 months ago, now they're reporting it. I mean, this part, I thought, was something. Yet in Iowa and elsewhere, the tension with the party has served only to re-energize Mr. Sanders and his loyalists, who are faithful to him in a way that no other candidate's supporters are. While backers of other Democrats often list 3 or 4 contenders when asked to name their top choice, Mr. Sanders' fans are unwavering. Yeah, like he's a rock star. A recent poll for the Des Moines Register showed that among likely Democratic caucus goers who said Mr. Sanders was their top choice, 57% said their minds were made up, according to the Register. No other candidate registered above 30%. Those figures alone could portend a strong showing for Mr. Sanders at the caucuses, where candidates must receive at least 15% support at a caucus site to collect the site's share of delegates. Bernie Sanders is definitely being underestimated in Iowa, said John Grennan, the Democratic chairman in Powashock County. Part of his durability is that he has 15 to 20% of the caucus who are absolutely committed to voting for him no matter what. In a field that's split between at least 10 major candidates, that 15 to 20% counts for a whole heck of a lot. And what's interesting in Iowa, remember, Iowa is a caucus system. And by the way, we got 500 people watching right now. 250 of you have pressed that like button. Can I get another 250 people to press that like button? It's the thumbs up button right under the video. Let's get this to 1,000 viewers. And it is a super chat, so if you're feeling super or mildly okay, let us know. Happy to read your super chats. So what's interesting, in Iowa, it's a caucus. So remember, if Cory Booker does not break 15, it releases the people caucusing for Cory Booker to go elsewhere. Same thing for Amy Klobuchar. Same thing for, who else is in this? Andrew Yang. All of these people. If you don't meet that 15% bar, your folks get released to other people. I think that's how it works. So Bernie Sanders is second choice for Biden supporters, for Warren supporters, and for several other candidates' supporters. I would have to look in. Emerson has the top second choice. So I think Bernie Sanders is in very, very prime position to upset in Iowa. Tulsi as well. Not upset in Iowa, but if she doesn't make the percentage-wise at those caucus sites, then her voters would be released to vote for Bernie. And by the way, Jesus Christ, you do a video mildly critical of Tulsi Gabbard, the pitchforks come for you. I don't understand this mentality in the progressive movement, that we all have to agree on everything, and if you don't agree, you're a sellout, and I'm unsubscribing. I saw somebody today say to me, unsubscribed, goodbye. Goodbye. Not to be harsh, but like, you're going to unsubscribe because I have a difference of opinions on something? It is a snowflake. It's a very Fox News mentality, because Fox News viewers are like that. Trust me, I know. I worked at Fox News. If you're not a true believer, if you don't believe with every single thing, I gotta turn to I don't know, Duck Dynasty or something.
They need a safe space.
They need a safe space. That's true. So, whatever. So that was the New York Times piece. And then Politico, of all places. This sounded the alarm. It's like the British are coming. Democratic insiders, Bernie could win the nomination. Like, did you people, have you been asleep for months? All of the stuff they're reporting now. And I love, the first person they go to is David Brock. David Brock, that creature of Hillary Clinton. It, quote, it may have been inevitable that eventually you would have two candidates representing each side of the ideological divide in the party. A lot of smart people I've talked to lately think there's a very good chance those two end up being Biden and Sanders, said Brock, a longtime Hillary Clinton ally who founded a pro-Clinton super PAC in the 2016 campaign. They've both proven to be very resilient. You know what I love? You know, Trump obviously lies so casually and easy, he doesn't even know he's lying as much as he is. Riley, you're saying I'm ignoring your super chat? I don't see your super chat. Riley, did you leave a super chat? I didn't see it. I'm sorry. Nope, you didn't leave a super chat, Riley. So, David Brock, true story. When I went up to him in 2016, I was like, do you think it's, appropriate for your super PAC to be doing commercials, kind of like stoking paranoia that Bernie Sanders isn't releasing his health records? David Brock's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have anything to do with that. I'm like, really? Because I just watched the commercial in my hotel room from Priorities USA, Correct the Record. That's your super PAC. Oh, no, I had nothing to do about that. I mean, these people just lie so casually. It's unbelievable. But the Politico piece, these insiders, essentially Obama, Clinton people, basically were saying what we've all known for months. I believe people should take him seriously. He's a very good shot of winning Iowa, a very good shot of winning New Hampshire, and other than Joe Biden, the best shot of winning Nevada, said Dan Pfeiffer, who served as an advisor to President Obama. He could build a real head of steam heading into South Carolina and Super Tuesday. So Sanders in second place in national polls, nearly nine percentage points behind Biden, according to Real Clear Politics. He's second in Iowa and first in New Hampshire. So what's interesting to me about all this, why all of a sudden, of course they had to get Third Way in, that corrupt Wall Street funded quote unquote think tank. He can't win the nomination, said Matt Bennett, co-founder of the center-left group Third Way, adding that Sanders' uptick is simply him bouncing around between his ceiling and his floor a little bit more than people had thought he would. Okay, interesting. Politico might want to mention that Third Way has poured in millions in negative ads and advertising against Bernie Sanders and Medicare for All, but I digress. So it's interesting to me why all of a sudden they've essentially, don't get me wrong, there's been a lot of negative stories about Bernie Sanders, but why all of a sudden are these pieces coming out essentially saying the same thing? Don't sleep on Bernie. He can win. He can win. To me, this is the warning flares for everybody to stop. Oh, I'm trying not to get demonetized. To stop fooling around here. Let's take a break from propping up every breathing neoliberal establishment creature. Take a break. Let's take a break from propping up Amy Klobuchar. Let's take a break from Mayor Empty Vessel, which I'm going to get to him in a minute. Let's take a break from ignoring the fact that Biden is struggling cognitively. Let's take a break from all of the, Trump's the Antichrist. We need to all get together in those private rooms that I talked to you about at the beginning of this. Remember, Neera Tanden, Terry McAuliffe, Pete Buttigieg, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi. They were all getting together for private dinners in D.C. and New York in April. How do we stop Bernie Sanders? I think all of these articles right now, because Politico is part of the establishment, the New York Times is the organ for the establishment, I think they're all blaring signs. We don't care who wins Iowa. We don't care who wins New Hampshire. We don't care who's the nominee. As long as it's not Bernie Sanders, we have to stop this momentum. That's what's going on right now. Politico's not writing this piece. New York Times is not writing this piece. David Axelrod's not saying this out of kindness or to be fair. They're saying hey guys and gals, we got to get in the back room and figure this out. We can't let this man win. Yeah, Trump, bad, but seriously, Bernie, worse. And like I've said, we got a super chat. 600 people watching. John Davey, $1.99. Bernie most likely to outperform where he's polling. Yeah, I've been saying that for weeks. I think there is a hidden Bernie voter because a lot of these voters for Bernie that the campaign is trying to get are first-time voters, are younger voters, and those people are not called by pollsters. So you might have Donald Trump had a hidden voter too. You might have a hidden, even if it's 2%, that could be very pivotal. And also, I think, and some people aren't going to like what I'm going to say, but I'm just going to keep it real because I always do. I think if Bernie Sanders wins Iowa, if Tulsi Gabbard doesn't perform well in Iowa, if Tulsi Gabbard comes in, fourth, fifth, sixth place, which as right now, it seems like she would, Tulsi Gabbard, whether she stays in for New Hampshire, could be pivotal to Bernie Sanders winning or losing. I'm not calling for her to drop out, but I am speaking political reality. If she right now is polling at 4 or 5% in New Hampshire and Bernie Sanders wins Iowa, Bernie Sanders is going to have a lot of momentum going into New Hampshire. But New Hampshire, it stinks. It smells of a Biden kind of state. Older voters, older white voters, fairly establishment, even though they voted for Bernie last time. So I think it's going to come pivotal if she doesn't do well in Iowa. I think people are going to start asking, well, we love Tulsi Gabbard. I don't love her. I like her. There's some things I don't like, which apparently isn't allowed in progressive media. You can't say anything critically about Tulsi Gabbard. But people are going to ask, I'll tell you what, that 4 or 5% of Tulsi voters could be very useful a week from now for Bernie if it's a close race in New Hampshire. Just saying. Cheryl Tyler, $20. Thank you, Cheryl. We really, really appreciate it. So, to me, when you see these articles coming out in the New York Times, Politico, what I'm thinking is, you better prepare yourself for the onslaught that's about to come. Because these articles, which are semi-positive, are really warning signs, are really flares getting shot up to essentially bandy everyone together and focus on the real prize. No more criticisms of Pete. No more focusing on Warren. Let Amy, prop herself up. We need all the attention right now to stop Bernie Sanders. I don't care what you have to find. If you have to find that he went to the bathroom without a hall pass back in the 1960s, find it. If you need to find that, wait a minute, him and Jane went on vacation in Russia. Where did they go in Russia? Who did they speak with? Where did they stay? What did they eat? I'm telling you, this is what's going to happen, folks. They're going to try and drop as many negative stories all at once. You're also going to start hearing this term, which is complete BS, trying not to curse. Oh, but he's not electable. He's not electable. This whole theoretical debate about electability. These same pundits who said, oh, we have to go with Hillary. She's the electable one. The same ones who thought Donald Trump, he's not electable. These same people who have been telling us, and wrong forever and ever, who's electable, who's not, what the Midwest voter wants, what they don't want, the electability crowd. We're going to start out, and you better believe you're going to start hearing more and more horror stories about socialized medicine in Canada and the UK and Denmark. You just wait. I'm predicting it. Thank you, G. $2. Would Yang and Tulsi people actually go to Bernie, though? I think Tulsi people would. I think Andrew Yang people are a little bit more zealots. I don't mean that they're bad people. I just mean they're kind of, drinking the Kool-Aid. And I don't know how many of them would go to Yang. But I do think Tulsi supporters would go to Bernie. Particularly, I believe if Tulsi dropped out, she would probably endorse Bernie with that dropout. To be clear, I'm not telling her to drop out. I'm just speaking facts and reality. If she weren't to perform well in Iowa and Bernie wins Iowa, I mean, it's still going to be a nail biter in New Hampshire. So that 4 or 5% she has in New Hampshire could be pivotal in Bernie winning. So Tulsi Gabbard would have to decide, does she want to be a message warrior at that point? Because I'm just breaking reality. She's not going to win the presidency. I don't mean that to sound like the pundits who say Bernie has no chance. I mean that because in reality, she's just not. To be fair, I mean, she has not gotten a fair shake. She barely got media attention, and when she did get media attention, they painted her as, an alt-right darling, Russian agent. So I'm not saying it's been fair, but I'm just talking reality. I have a hard time believing Tulsi Gabbard would have a shot unless she really outperformed in Iowa. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard coming even in third in Iowa would be a victory for her. So we'll see. Robbie Asher, $9.99. Here's the record-breaking turnout. We could only hope. We could only hope. Chris Garrett, $5. First they ignore you, then they fight you, then they rig the primaries, then Bernie wins. They are rigging the primaries. And you know what's interesting to me? I got into it with someone on Twitter today who's telling me, if not Bernie, I'm not voting for any, whatever, let Trump win, if not Bernie. And you know where I stand. A lot of you don't agree, but I don't feel that way. I would vote for Warren. And I was saying to this person, so you're just cool with like the planet burning down to the ground if Donald Trump was elected for 4 more years? And they were like, it doesn't matter, Jordan. Even if they're just going to rig it anyway. I'm like, yeah, but they're already rigging it. So I don't know what her point was, but they're already rigging it. I've told you how they're rigging it. But the point is, I think, and I hope Bernie Sanders' campaign is very prepared. I think you might be looking at Jeremy Corbyn levels in terms of the UK media assault. Whether you like Jeremy Corbyn or not, I mean, nobody could say the media was fair in Great Britain. From The Guardian to the BBC, it was a coordinated guerrilla campaign against Jeremy Corbyn. I think you're going to see that here in the next few weeks. I think you're going to see them literally digging stuff up about Bernie's time as mayor of Burlington. I think you're going to see them bringing out the C word, communism. I think you're going to see them really, really trying to spook people about Medicare for all. And I hope Bernie Sanders' campaign is prepared for it. I really do. Because they're in for it. They're in for it. It's the fight of their life. So everybody should be prepared. So we got 700 people watching right now. 462 of you have pressed that like button. So we need over 200 more of you to press that like button. It's the thumbs up button right under the video. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see this very live stream. I also want to update you right now. We're not at that number. We're at 756, I believe. But I have an outdated graphic, so my apologies. We're at 756 paying members. Our goal was 1,000 for the end of the year, so that's not going to happen. But I'd love to make a push in these final days to get to 800. So Marcus is headed to Iowa for a few weeks for us to cover the campaign. So we're not just telling you, hey, become a member, and we're not going to do anything, and we're going to sit on our behinds. Marcus is going to Iowa to cover the campaign for several weeks. I am also going up to New Hampshire this weekend. I'm going to a Joe Biden event, so that should be interesting. Actually, 2 Joe Biden events. Also, as you just saw, we were in South Bend, Indiana. So we still got more videos to show from our South Bend reporting. So now that you've spent your money on Christmas and Hanukkah and whatever, if you got $5 to $10 a month, sign up today, statuscoup.com/join. Your support is how we're funding this in the field reporting. And as always, members get bonus content. So I want to play for you. I'm not going to play the whole thing. Members could go right now to statuscoup.com and watch the whole video. But I want to play for you just part of a video Jen and I did for our members about an email I got from the South Bend Tribune. For those of you that weren't paying attention, in South Bend, right away, like within a day, we broke a pretty big story. Basically, Pete Buttigieg's South Bend police officers were, while arresting a black man, thought it would be a good idea to joke around and reenact a scene from Django Unchained where Klansmen were arguing amongst themselves. So these police officers basically were mimicking the Klan while arresting this black man. We broke that story, and then the South Bend Tribune picked it up. But when they picked it up, they didn't credit us or link to us. Kind of just like journalistic courtesy, not such a big ask, right? This kind of stuff happens behind the scenes all the time. So Jen and I, in this video for our members, showed you the email from the South Bend Tribune. I'll play just a few minutes of it, and members could get the rest. Here we go. Hey there, Jordan Chariton.
Jen Dies.
Little members video. I'm outraged, but not surprised. So, the other day, if you noticed, we broke a story while in South Bend, which we were able to be there thanks to your membership. And while in South Bend, we broke this story that South Bend police, who work for Mayor Pete Buttigieg, while arresting a black man, they were caught on tape basically playing out a scene from the movie Django Unchained, where Klansmen are arguing amongst themselves because their hoods don't fit. And they were arguing while they were marching down to try and lynch Django, played by Jamie Foxx. So, kind of offensive, I'd say.
Absolutely. Just highly offensive.
So, we broke it. Not only did we have the audio, as you can see right there, of the event in question, where they are white officers, mimicking Klansmen, but I spoke with the mother of the black man who was arrested. She was very distressed. She told me they definitely have a history of it, this racism. She also said the comments weren't fair or funny. Quote, we're supposed to be able to trust them, and they're here to serve and protect. And that's not what's going on, obviously. So, behind the scenes, we broke that story in the same hour that Trump was impeached. So, obviously, it didn't go anywhere because, people were paying attention to Trump and his impeachment. So, the next morning, I start sending it around. I got a ridiculous response, which we already did a video on, from one national news editor saying, wait, you think the mayor should be held accountable for comments his police officers make? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Pretty easy to decide that.
He should at least comment.
Right.
So we noticed a couple days later, and, it was a good thing, the South Bend Tribune, which is the big outlet in South Bend, they picked up the story. So South Bend police investigating video of officers joking, referencing KKK scene from movie, but there's kind of something missing in the story. They posted the Facebook live stream of the event, but there's no reference to us breaking the story. And this happens all the time. The New York Times is famous for stealing people's stories and not crediting them, but I just figured, well, maybe the South Bend, probably they don't even know what status quo is. They might have not even seen it from us. They might have seen it circulating on social media, but not realized it was from us. So I very kindly just emailed the editor and said, hey, not sure if you saw, but we broke this story. Would appreciate you crediting us, since that's just standard journalistic practice to credit.
It was very respectful.
Yeah. So I got this response, which we've redacted so we don't, dox the person. Jordan, thanks for this is the executive editor for South Bend Tribune. Jordan, thanks for the note. We first learned about the video from local social media sites and residents, not your post, and decided to pursue our own story separately. Your story apparently was posted sooner than the one we posted. Yeah, 2 days sooner. However, we had already decided by that point to do our own story. One of our desires was to give police some amount of time to respond, and it was not influenced by your story. So while I appreciate you reaching out, I have to respectfully disagree that we should credit you in our story. We generally reserve credit to other outlets when they influence our decision or work in some way. I hope that answers your question. Thanks again.
I was absolutely shocked. This note came to us when we were live doing the marathon on Sunday, and I couldn't believe it. The audacity of this note.
I only took 2 journalism classes, so I'm not an expert. But let me explain how not only ridiculous this is, but just the sheer elitism and arrogance of this asshole. First of all, we first learned about the video from local social media sites and residents, not your post. Where do you think they learned of it, pal?
Right.
We tweeted out the story. Then Sean King, Lee Merritt and other influential black activists, attorneys, media people started retweeting it. Then Sean King made his own tweet with the video, which got like 1,400 retweets, and he linked to our story, I think, and it was a thread.
Yeah.
So yeah, you learned about it on social media because we broke it, and it started circulating. I think our tweet, we actually had 2 tweets because our website went down. So one of the tweets was a story from our website, and one of the tweets was a story on Medium. But combined, it was like over 500 retweets.
Right.
So yeah, you learned about it on social media, and residents learned about it because we broke it. You fucking douchebag. So then he says, your story apparently was posted sooner, yes, by 2 days. However, we had already decided by that point to do our own story. One of our desires was to give the police some amount of time to respond. Yes, they responded by lying.
Yeah, they lied.
They initially said, oh, this wasn't South Bend Police Department, but since I'm a journalist and they're not, I actually just found the police report which said the arresting officer was the South Bend Police Department.
Right.
So it's like, what? What is he even talking about? This isn't how crediting works in journalism. So, and then he says, so while I appreciate you reaching out, I have to respectfully for members, I think I was at about a 7 or 8 by the time I cut off that video. If you want to see me go up to a 12 to 13, you better sign up as a member today. Because the point that I cut it off, I think I was, Jen, would you say the point that I cut it off, I was at a 7 or 8? And then as we went, I just went nuclear. So yeah, let me just clue you in here. So status coup is the little engine that could. Even when we break stories, it's very difficult because I can't tell you how many times I've broken a story in the field for it to go nowhere because we're living at a time when Donald Trump just controls the media's attention span. Donald Trump, whatever he tweets becomes a story of the day, and that's why we need something like status coup. So we've broken so many stories that just don't get the attention they should because the media is chasing Trump's tweets and stupidity with their tail behind their leg. But I have never, and I took a couple journalism classes. I worked in journalism. Like, I've never heard such a stupid rationale, and I explain this more in the rest of the video. Crediting people in journalism isn't based on whether they influenced you or not. It's not based on whether that would be like me talking about Watergate and being like, yeah, I'm not going to credit Bernstein and Woodward because, like, I don't know, I heard it from some guy at the dog park. Some guy at the dog park told me about it, so why do I have to credit the reporters? I'm not saying this was Watergate, but it's just such a ridiculous, absurd rationale. And this is who controls the local media. Like Bernie talks about politically, media, it doesn't only start from the top. Misinformation and disinformation, it goes from the bottom up. So local media is super, super important. And the local media, by and large, in Michigan, where I've reported quite a bit, in South Bend, where I just was, in other cities that I'm in, they're terrible. They're either asleep at the switch or just regurgitating whatever the state tells them. It's terrible. Jive, I gave up a TYT membership for a status coup membership. Jive, I won't comment on my former employer, but I think that's one hell of a decision you made, and I think other people should make that decision too. People can be a member to other places if they want, but last time I checked, is TYT on the ground in South Bend exposing mayor privilege, exposing Mayor McKinsey, exposing Mayor Rhodes Scholar? I don't think so. Have they gone to Flint since I left? I don't think so. statuscoup.com/join, and big shout out today. We've gotten 3 new members today. Welcome to the media revolution. Karma is her name. Love it. Welcome Dennis. Welcome Stephen. We are now at 758 Status Coup members. You can become a member for as low as a cup of coffee a month. That's $5 a month. You can become a member. We tried to make this as low as possible to include everyone. So sign up, statuscoup.com/join. So, moving on. Pete Buttigieg. And, I know a lot of people are like, Jordan, get off it. We need to, focus on Biden. I don't think you could just get off Pete Buttigieg because right now, according to the polls, he's leading in Iowa. Now, I take all the polls with a grain of salt, but he is leading in Iowa. And not just that, I think it is a true stain. I mean, Russiagate was a stain on the corporate media. Obviously, Iraq was a stain on the corporate media. I think it is a true stain on our media that there has been no vetting of this man. There has been no real coverage of this man. In 4 days, Status Coup did more vetting and could easily find that this man is the gentrifier in chief. His most impressive accomplishment is gentrifying all of South Bend, Indiana. He has made 4 or 5 blocks wonderful and left the rest of the city to fight to the deaths for the scraps. So now, since he's basically raising all his money in wine caves, in mansions, from the who's who of the United Corporations of America, now his campaign is trying this accounting gimmick. They're trying to essentially artificially lower their average donation amount by proposing a contest. Who could donate the least amount? Like, this isn't so transparent what they're trying to do. Buttigieg presidential campaigns announced a new contest to drum up fundraising. Who could give the Democratic candidate the lowest contribution? In an email to supporters Tuesday evening, Buttigieg's campaign wrote that the donor who contributes the lowest amount in the hours ahead, provided that no other donor matches the contribution amount, will win a prize for the campaign. I wonder if it's going to be a low-priced bottle of wine from a proletariat wine cave. Quote, all you have to do to win is donate the smallest amount that nobody else donates. Multiple donations are allowed. Just be creative. Pick a unique donation amount and you could win. Do you know what this tells me? And I'm not good at math. I failed math. You know what I think? Carne Verde, Jordan, you and Status Coup need to get an interview with Crystal and Sager on the Hill. All I could do is reach out to them. I reached out to Crystal to tell her I was in South Bend, that if she wanted to be on the show to discuss my reporting, that I would love to come on. No knock on her, but I didn't hear back. So let them know you'd like to see me on the Hill. I've been on the Hill before. I was on, I think 6 months ago or something. But I'd love to go back on. Definitely would love to go back on. So what this tells me, Jen, let me know what you think. The year is ending, which means the financial quarter is ending. This is the fourth quarter, the fourth financial quarter. So I think they're looking at their average donation amount, and I'm pretty sure that average donation amount is not a small amount. My guess is you're looking at an average donation mark probably above $50, possibly hovering between $50 and $60. Now, in some circles, that's a small dollar donation. Most people do not have $50 to $60 to give. My assumption, I'd love to go back on Jimmy Dore, but I think Jimmy's upset at me. I heard that he read my Tulsi tweet on air and called me stupid. So I love Jimmy, but apparently he's mad at me because I dare disagree with Tulsi Gabbard. So, hey, I'm a big Jimmy fan, but I don't believe in, agreeing 100% with any politician. And I also think, whether it's Jimmy or anyone else, like this mentality that like not being fire breathing enough or not agreeing 1000% on all things means like you're stupid or you're selling out or this and that. It's ridiculous. But I love Jimmy. I'd love to go back on there. So what's amazing to me, do they not think that this is essentially like transparent? Like if you're going to try and lower your average donation to make it look like your, Lunch Bucket Joe is the general person donating to your campaign, maybe don't be so obvious that right now your average amount is high. Because who the hell, like Jen, you work in marketing. She's been doing marketing for years. Is that like a normal marketing campaign? Like, hey, let's have a race to the bottom. Who can donate the least amount? You know? Oh, Michael, I know Jimmy doesn't dislike me. I was saying, from what I heard, he called me stupid, which I didn't really appreciate. I didn't appreciate that. Even though I love Jimmy, don't have to resort to names. And he sent me a private text. I won't get into the private text, but he did. I'm about to start an interview in South Bend, and I get this text message from Jimmy, which was interesting. But anyway, I digress. So, Jen, would you ever do this as a marketing campaign? Like, who could donate the least amount? I mean, I'm not saying small dollar donors don't matter, but it's so obvious that all he's doing has been fundraisers in Napa Valley, wine caves, mansions, Silicon Valley. He's not getting small dollar donations from these people. He's getting maxed out $2,800 donations. It's unbelievable to me. And now his campaign, to make it seem like, oh, he's getting that small dollar donations, is basically saying, hey, send 2 cents, send 3 cents. We just need as many small dollar donations as possible. Hey, send a little piece of lint. Jen said, I would do it if I were a sellout trying to lower average donation amounts. Ding, 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 ding. It's so transparent. And this is why this guy is going to lose. Because here's the thing. Trump did what Pete is doing. Trump put on a show. Trump presented himself as something he's not. Trump spoke like an everyman populist when he wasn't. But the difference is, Trump was running against a bunch of corrupt Republicans. Trump was running against a bunch of authentically terrible Republicans. So Trump was able to con people. Pete is running against the OG, authentic progressive. It's very hard for your con job to last if you're running against a actually authentic progressive. This is the same reason Barack Obama was able to win in 2007, 2008. If, let's say, a Bernie type was running in 2007, 2008, Obama would have had a much harder time presenting himself as this hope and change and heal the world kind of guy, because you'd have an OG progressive there to call out the BS, to call out the inconsistencies. Pete, eventually, if you are just artificially propped up by a bunch of marketing, branding, corporate media slobbering, eventually people are going to wise up to it, and I think you're going to see that soon. Steady Drummer, $3.99 in the super chat. So while Pete sends out like, hey, who can send in the lowest amount to try and lower his small dollar, I want to play for you. If you missed this, I haven't gone through it yet. I went to Pete's debate watch party at his campaign headquarters. His campaign headquarters is in one of the gentrified blocks that he gentrified. And as soon as I walked in, I knew, oh, this isn't going to be a friendly crowd for me. But I was surprised. Say what you want about Joe Biden, but going to Joe Biden's debate watch party in Detroit, they didn't shut me down at all, really. They gave me nasty looks, but they didn't stop me from shooting. They didn't stop us from interviewing people, and a credit to them. YouTube just sent me a notification that Status Coup is online right now. That's nice of them an hour late. You know how everybody here could get around YouTube not notifying them? 630 people watching right now. If even half of you sign up today for our text alert system, if you text 474747 and enter COUP, you will get a text message back that you are now on our text alert system. We don't send a text for every single live stream because it's really expensive, but we're sending more and more texts now. And the more people that sign up, the more we will send. But the more people that sign up, the more we can get around these delayed notifications from YouTube or YouTube not sending them at all. We promise you we're not texting you 15 times a day. We might not even text you twice a week. But it is super, super helpful to get on, to have you sign up for our text alert system. And we're already seeing that it's slightly bumping up our audience. And we have people tuning in saying, hey, I got the text, but not a notification. Well, that means we're getting back viewers that we're losing who aren't getting notified that we're live. So it takes 5 seconds. You're not going to be charged anything. Just sign up 474747 and enter Coup. COUP. This is how we get around YouTube's shenanigans. So I want to play this clip. There's not a lot of footage because they shut us down from taking photos, taking video. I still snuck in a few photos. And then we'll talk about it after. But I think it's important, if you haven't seen this video, to see how guarded this campaign is. How little attention, questioning, and media scrutiny, not adoring. If it was a CNN reporter, they would have let him in fine, cover whatever you want. But this campaign knows, oh no, we don't want people looking. And they probably didn't want me shooting any video or photos because there was 24 people there. If the mayor of a city who's running for president can't get more than 24 people to his campaign's debate watch party, wow. Let's take a look if you haven't seen this yet. Is this enough light?
Yeah, definitely. I see it. You got his thing? Yep. No, that's fine.
Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup. I'm excited. We're about to go into the Pete Buttigieg official debate watch party. I cannot wait to see what's in store. I'm imagining a slew of upper middle class, professional class, white liberals, probably 45 and older, probably a few black people, mostly white people, and a whole lot of hors d'oeuvres.
For coming. One quick thing, we are not going to let any videos be taken tonight, no photos. We want to respect people's privacy, so please follow that. If you don't, we'll be kindly asked to leave. As well, you know, Pete really believes in everyone belonging. You guys be quiet for 1 second. We really do believe everyone belongs. So we do have people here who support Pete, and we do have people here who don't support people, who support other people. And that's totally fine, because we all belong. But we ask you that if anyone becomes disruptive, don't engage. We're above that. So, and we ask if you want to be disruptive and want to start something, please don't. We're going to ask you to kindly leave because we want to be here and watch the debate. So thank you for respecting that. Respect each other. At the end of the day, we all want to beat Trump. So let's just keep that in mind. Thank you guys so much.
Hey, Jordan Chariton on the front lines of South Bend, Indiana. Before we get to the historic river behind us, we need to tell you about what we call it, Buttigieg basement we were just in. We went to a debate watch party at Pete Buttigieg's, I think, headquarters. South Bend headquarters there on Sycamore Street. As soon as I got in, almost like a militarized police force, a young 25-year-old girl, her uptightness could be seen just in her eyes. Immediately announced, because I told her I was the press, I identified myself, there will be, you cannot take video, you cannot take photo, we want this to be people to have privacy here, basically a safe space. So of course I said fine, and then went on to take pictures of. Well, let me ask an eyewitness to the scene. When you walked in, did you see the wonderful portraits of Mayor Pete Buttigieg? This is Arakel, a South Bend resident.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of weird because we ran another campaign out of that same office. So to see those kind of like remarkable pieces of artwork to Pete, and they looked very Jesus-like, like very angelic with the lighting behind him. It's kind of odd. I mean, hey, great. Maybe they're from students, but
Very chiseled, I would say, his picture was.
very heroic. Definitely,
Yes.
definitely.
And I also really appreciated across the wall, the majority white crowd. I think I saw 2 black people. I would say predominantly 45 and over, would you say? Yeah. On the wall, we saw what really differentiates Pete. That's the boot edge.
Boot, yeah. I think there was another boot behind the screen.
So I know it sounds like, all right, we're just spoofing him and being funny, but I really want to give you a sense of what it was like in there. First of all, clearly they are refusing photos, video, press to do their job because they don't want anyone to see what's in there, because what's in there was essentially a shrine to Pete Buttigieg. I also think because there's been so much scrutiny on Pete Buttigieg in recent weeks, they don't, like Joe Biden at his event, they don't actually want his supporters to speak because they know there's not a lot of there. You're a South Bend resident. Did you get the image and the feeling there that it was very much crowd control to make sure none of his supporters could actually speak to me?
You know what? If I had to guess, I'd say they didn't want the country to see how empty it was. And it was like a snooze fest. I have never been somewhere that's supposed to be a fun watch party where nobody was talking. It was just like 24 people. It was very odd.
Because from what I was told before I came here, he's brought South Bend back.
Right.
So I was expecting there, maybe 75 to 100 people. I'm guessing there was 24, would you say?
Yeah, I would say 24. And, between 45 to like 80. And no youth, just a couple black folks. And, our city is made up of 40% black people. We're an integrated city, and that was not really an integrated event.
And I found it super interesting, not to make this about me, but Pete had these eloquent words about press freedom. Meanwhile, his lieutenant, that young girl, came up to me twice because she saw that I was tweeting pictures, which I shouldn't have. Don't be mad, Mom. She came up to me twice because literally from all sides of me, there was people watching me from the back, from the right, from the left, and from in front of me. I said to Jamal, I don't mean to offend you, Jamal, but I know what black people deal with now. I was being watched like a hawk just because they didn't want pictures. What were they so embarrassed about in there?
Yeah, it had to be the demographic of the people and the low energy, obviously. I mean, it was a really sad event.
So let's talk about a little bit more in detail, and thank you for braving the cold. It's cold. Driving around South Bend.
So what was interesting to me, though, and you don't get this on CNN or MSNBC or any of these outlets. So we go to this event, and Arakel and I just described what it was like in there. It was a shrine to Pete Buttigieg, mostly quiet. 1 or 2 times while I was there, I heard them cheering. And honestly, I went in not even to spoof Pete Buttigieg, not to be disrespectful, but I want to understand, and I want my audience to understand, what is the reason people support him? And if they were going to give reasons on camera that were ignorant or hypocritical or showed that they only care about people in their socioeconomic bracket, to challenge them, like I do always. Not be disrespectful, but there's a way of challenging people where you're aggressive, but still, professional. And I try to do that. So they were the ones that blocked me from doing that. it's a disservice to their campaign. It's also a disservice to my viewers because I went there to try and at least show both sides. I mean, obviously my coverage was critical while I was there, but I wanted to get his voters on the microphone, not to hammer them over the head, but to actually understand what is it. Because honestly, a lot of times that I have challenged voters for Biden or Hillary in 2016, I get a response like, "Oh, I didn't know that." And it's always amazing to me when you get that moment on air, when people are standing here supporting a man or a woman and don't even know their full record because the corporate media doesn't inform them. Thank you, Michelle McKay, $20. Thank you, Jordan. Telling the truth is awesome. I agree. And thank you for your support. So what was also kind of amazing to me, you would think if the mayor of a semi-small city, 100,000, if the mayor is one of the final contenders for the presidency, you would think the debates are like the talk of town. You would think that everywhere you go, you could find the debate. Well, we left that debate watch party probably after an hour. I was tired of having four people staring at me on all sides. I wasn't allowed to. At a certain point, I thought they were going to be like, "You're not allowed to tweet," which I would have told them to go beep themselves. So we go to a bar down the street. They're not playing the debate. We go to another bar. They're not playing the debate. I called another bar. You playing the debate? Nobody's playing the debate. How is it that this guy is the mayor of a city that is coming back, but nobody is playing the debate in South Bend? It's almost like, yeah, it's come back for, 5 blocks, the most affluent, wealthy people, but for everybody else, no. That's not somebody who's wildly popular in their city. And contrary, Pete could say, well, I won 80% of South Bend. Yeah, you got 8% of the city came out to vote. It's a Democratic city. He makes it seem like, try being a gay dude winning in Indiana. You didn't win statewide. You won in South Bend, Indiana, which Democrats win. It's a Democratic city. So it's just amazing to me. Rick Wallace, $5 in the super chat. Thank you for those Pete Buttigieg pictures that will now forever haunt my nightmares. To be fair, in 2016, I've been to Bernie headquarters in Oregon and elsewhere. Like, there were paintings of Bernie, but they were less shrine-like. This was more like, oh, look at his chiseled chin and wonderful eyes, and it was a little different. So I want to play part of one more interview to show you the truth of this man that you are not going to see in corporate media. You are not going to see African American citizens there speaking the truth about this person, either conscious racism or subconscious racism, because his policy has been to focus on the east side of South Bend, focus on the white side, try and attract business, try and give away tax breaks, give away tax abatements, hell, pay them to come there. And the black city is, well, let's pay businesses to leave. I found many closed down factories, and a resident who has lived there all his life said, oh yeah, this company got paid to move 7 miles down the road out of South Bend by Buttigieg. Why is he paying businesses to leave black and brown parts of the city? Because you're trying to starve black and brown parts of the city of services. You're also trying to lower and divide and conquer that voting bloc. That's why you're demolishing 1,000 homes in 1,000 days instead of trying to repair 1,000 homes. Let me show you part of this interview to get a sense of how has Pete Buttigieg treated black people in South Bend, Indiana.
There's a lack of transparency. Yesterday, an activist, I don't know if you know Jesse Davis, told me Mayor Buttigieg is one of the most unapproachable mayors that he's ever dealt with in South Bend. Cloud of secrecy around him. He's not in many meetings where decisions are made on his behalf. What has been your experience? Because I know you've emailed with him and.
Yes, as you know, I am a member of Black Lives Matter as well. So when Eric Logan case came about, and we knew, I spent hours at the crime scene looking at evidence that still the state police never contacted the community for input. The mayor, the first lie I ever heard the mayor tell national TV was that he met with Eric Logan family. I was in the room that night. The mayor shook everybody's hand, and that's what's it. If that's called a meeting, is something wrong with you. Have not once sat down with the Logan family and discuss anything. You would hear he say, "Oh, they refuse," because they tried and you did show no concern, so they don't trust you. Even with other families I deal with murders case, Pete not there. It's one family that hopefully you be able to interview. Pete took her number and promised her, "I will get back in contact with you." A week after Eric Logan death, South Bend had the first mass shooting in history at Kelly Bar, where a guy from Michigan came down here to go out to a public bar, and as he was leaving, he lost his life. And it was the first time since the police department been open that they had to activate their mass patrol. They didn't have enough officer to protect South Bend. They had to call police from Michigan, the state police, to come in. And still, to this date, the mayor don't meet with families. So the family's like, why should I vote for a man who don't even care? The family don't want money. Just a phone call, "I'm sorry," to comfort them. And the mayor too busy to reach out to these families, which is a shame.
And I fully apologize. I'm running around, so I don't know everything about this particular case, but I want to ask you about it. I've been told there was a case where a young man was found hanging, and they immediately declared it a suicide. And it's been described to me that it almost looked the way it was hung.
It's not just one case, it's two suicide cases. That the case you're talking about, Stephanie Jones, I just took on that case to help her with that case. But yes, a black young man hung on the KKK Wizard property.
KKK what? Riser?
Wizard.
Okay. Wizard.
Right.
Yeah.
Property. And how do you man get up on a tower hanging? How would he get up there? You need a boom. And they made the lady cremate him within 24 hours.
No autopsy.
No autopsy. And had to use the KKK funeral home.
When was this?
This happened, I don't have the date right in front of me, but a year or two ago now, the city, she been to the mayor's office, police department, so we're going to try to get that case reopened. Is unbelievable. Another case is Shalonda Wilson's son. The corner, St. Joseph corner, is foul. It's very foul here. Ruled that as a homicide. I never seen in my life where the police release the body to the family, and once we get involved, they go to the funeral home and tamper with the body.
What do you mean tamper with the body?
They try to dig a bullet out of a guy's head, and to this date, we don't know if they did take the bullet or did.
So, maybe this is a simple question, but it sounds like, it sounds like, how could a man run a country if he can't even run a local police department?
Correct. And that's the whole thing. A lot of black people are in this community. And if you just go do your research at these meetings, you don't see too many black people there. You see Black Lives there, Justice for South Bend. But when we come home, our phones are ringing. What took place? The community trusts us to be their voice because they don't trust them.
Let me ask you, you've had dealings with Mayor Pete. You said you've occasionally emailed him early in the morning and sometimes he responds. To me, it seems like he's your classic politician, kind of an empty slate, is on autopilot, tells the Chamber of Commerce one thing, tells the black community another thing. What's been your impression when you talk to him one-on-one on the type of person he is? Does it seem like he genuinely cares about black issues here, or does it seem like he's trying to basically put Band-Aids on things as he pursues his higher ambitions? Because obviously in the last 3 years, he's been trying to get out of South Bend. Ran for DNC chair, now president. So he hasn't really been focused on South Bend. What's been your interaction with him?
My intake with the mayor, my son has been on his youth program. My son loves that program. And when Eric Logan got killed, I removed him from that for a while. And let Pete know, I want my son to be able to trust what's going on in your office. If he see you lying, he would think one day, whatever his career would be, it's okay to do the same thing. One thing I can say about Pete is he did come to my protest, and my fight, he marched from the police station to his office next to me. And during that walk, we had conversations, and people was yelling at him. And one thing about Pete, he can't take yelling. And I told him, you can go into president. You're going to have people yelling all type of stuff. You got to know how to control that. I don't believe Pete hate black people, but his time that he can spend to make a change, he asked other leaders that have their hand in the pot to stand behind him. If something happen right now in the black community, you ain't gonna see his white staff behind him. He gonna go pull pastors that he work with in the black community to stand behind him. Don't build this picture for the country.
Well, so those interviews are up on the channel if you want to go watch it in full. But what was incredible to me was I asked a lot of these folks that I interviewed. His name's Vernado. He's with Justice for South Bend, Black Lives Matter. I said, how many times has like a CNN reporter or Washington Post, New York Times, whomever has been here, how many times have you seen them at your events here? Because there's been national reporters in South Bend for months. How many times have they approached you for interviews or asked you or other people in Justice for South Bend, Black Lives Matter? How many, is it a regular thing? Tell me. You're the first guy who's tried to interview me. The only times others have tried is if they're like at a press conference or something like that. They might ask a quick question, and then it's put into like a 1 minute, 2 minute video on CNN, and what they say is chopped up into 20 seconds. But he said nobody's ever had like a sit down, long form interview about these things, and most black people in South Bend have not been approached by the national media. I'm not saying that like to pat us on the back. I'm saying that because what I just described is exactly how candidates, neoliberal, gentrifying candidates like Pete Buttigieg excel. It's because you have a media who props them up. And honestly, I mean, this is not my first rodeo. I've gone to a lot of cities and communities. I don't know anyone before I go there. Flint, I do, because I've been there so many times, but I didn't know many people in South Bend. It's just kind of like a tree, you interview, you find one person before you go, you set up an interview, then you interview that person, they give you, they call another person, or they give you a few more people, and before you know it, people are calling you. Oh, I heard you're in town. I'd like to tell you my story.
I mean, Jen could attest to this. Like, at first I was like, damn, I only have 2 interviews lined up. Then, after a couple hours, I had a gazillion things lined up. But you have to want to talk to activists. You have to want to talk to members of the community, black and white. You have to want to actually do a little bit of digging. You have to want to investigate things. You have to choose to do something other than just sit there and regurgitate what campaigns send you in press releases. You have to want to speak against the echo chamber. And it's just incredible to me because honestly, and we haven't even posted all the videos yet, we're still working on it, but it's just amazing to me that somebody who is so clearly abandoned half of his city, somebody who so clearly has just essentially been an economic racist. I mean, if you go to South Bend, you'll see 5 blocks that are really nice. One woman put it really well. Pete's on the record said, I want South Bend to be a place for the affluent to come. It's not visionary to basically pay businesses from Chicago and elsewhere to come and open up shop and then put some beautiful lights around downtown, build some parks. They spent a hell of a lot of money to make their river light up at night. This is not visionary stuff. This is neoliberal stuff. It's not going to help close the income gap around the country. It's not going to help get people health care. It's not going to help get people education. It's not going to help end, the economic and just normal racism in this country. It'll help make things look pretty. It'll help put some pretty Band-Aids around gunshot wounds. So, I'm happy we went to South Bend. I mean, frankly, it was expensive. I'm not gonna lie. It's been challenging because we're really, really being suppressed hard. Very, very bad. I mean, I've never dealt with this level of suppression. It's like we go live. This is the largest audience we've had in a while. But most of the time, we're going live, and I'd be shocked if a quarter of the people subscribed to this channel even see our videos when we're live, or even see our videos when we're not live. Just get a notification or see it in their feed. It's very hard to grow, especially grow our membership, which is how we have to grow. We need to grow this paid membership in order to fund more in the field reporting. And we also need to grow our membership because we need funds to advertise. We didn't expect to need as much money to advertise, but since YouTube is suppressing this channel to the point where it's like hiding our stuff in a cave where no one could see it, it's very hard to grow if you're not being seen. So definitely appreciate all the support. I appreciate all right now we're at 758 paying members. I love all of you. Not to exclude our patrons. We have over 300 patrons too. We're trying to get this number up. So if you appreciate in the field reporting, we really appreciate you signing up. It's as low as $5 a month. I know that, some people don't like people trying to do journalism, asking the audience for money. I get complaints, Jordan, stop asking for money. Well, shit or get off the pot. If you want funding, if you want reporters to go in the field to communities that don't get any coverage, that don't get any attention, if you want reporters that could actually investigate things, most of the time it's very hard to do investigative reporting from the confines of your home. You got to go into the communities. That's where dirt is. That's where you dig up dirt. That's how you establish sources to send you the dirt that you could then break. I wouldn't have broken that story on the KKK tapes if I wasn't there. So it's up to you guys. We're working hard. Jen and I are working hard. Colin, Marcus, we're working hard to grow this. Somebody mentioned, wow, you've been stuck at 66,000 subscribers for a while. Yeah, because we're being suppressed. That's why we're trying our best. Many different things. We didn't create a text system for our health. So again, join our text alert. It's very, very important. Sign up. It's free. Text 474747 and then type in Coup, C-O-U-P. This is how we expect at this point YouTube to not notify you when we're live. So we get around that by texting you when we're live. We'll also text you when we're in the field, so we're not wasting our trips where you don't know where we are and when we're going live. So I know, it takes a lot to get people to do anything, especially online, but it doesn't cost you anything. It takes 8 seconds, as the mastermind just said. All you got to do, go to the logo to type a new text message to somebody. Type 474747 COUP. There's 540 people watching right now. If 350 of you join our text alert system today, that's another huge victory for us. We have to deal with something. God bless him, but we have to deal with things that Kyle did not have to deal with. Jimmy did not have to deal with. The Young Turks did not have to deal with. Humanist Report did not have to deal with. They might have to deal with it now, but they were fortunate to launch their channels in the pre-YouTube suppression era. We were not. We launched this when they were already doing that, and they've been getting worse. So if you got it, if you can't join us as a member, you can join our text alert. You definitely can do that. And by the way, the texts are not cheap. Jen can explain it, but it's costing us quite a few bucks, this text. But we're seeing it's working. I mean, we didn't text before this live stream. We kind of pick and choose because it's expensive. I don't know how it works, but the more people that join the text alert, the more credits we have to buy to send. It's a racket. They charge a lot. But let's say doing this text stuff initially gets us maybe 20 to 30 more live viewers. Then we grow that list. Maybe it starts getting us 50 more viewers. Then 50 viewers that wouldn't have joined us because they're not getting notified that we're live. The more we grow, and it's not just text, email too. Jen is a real advocate of this, but no business, whatever it is, media or anything else, no business could succeed without a big media email list. So we're trying to grow that. I think I don't know what we're at. Jen would know, probably like 4,000, 3,000, I don't know, between 3,000 and 4,000 on our email list. So we're not emailing you every day. We're not sending you, not everything we send is an ask for money, but we gotta grow. We need your help to grow. Frankly, this is not meant as a knock on anyone, but I don't see any other outlets doing what we're doing. I don't see any other outlets going during the holidays or on their weekends to go to communities that never get any attention. I don't see any outlets going up right now. I'm going to go up to New Hampshire this weekend to cover Biden and try and challenge some of his folks. Hopefully him too, if I can get in front of him. Marcus is going to Iowa for several weeks. And frankly, we don't have a ton of funding to fund a reporter in Iowa for several weeks. But we're doing it. We're choosing to spend our money so we have a reporter in Iowa for several weeks before the Iowa caucus. And we're sending Marcus there to cover everybody. Klobuchar, Buttigieg, Biden, Warren, Bernie, Tulsi, you name it. I'm going to New Hampshire this weekend. Jen and I know a lot of you are getting impatient, so are we. But God willing, we've been told the big story we've been talking about is coming out January. And I think once that story comes out, God willing, we'll have, hopefully people will know us then. Because this is a big story. No, I'm going this weekend to New Hampshire. Biden has some events Sunday. I will be off probably the 30th and the 31st because my brother's getting married. So the day before is a rehearsal dinner, and then New Year's Eve is my brother's wedding. So we really appreciate all your support. If you say, Jordan, you just gave me 5 things to do, which one Do you want more? Most? All I got to say, at a certain point, we got to all stop complaining about the corporate media and help fund and create our own. We got to get this number to that top bar. Not that we're going to stop at 1,000, but we got to get moving here. We've been a little stagnant, partly because we haven't been able to go out that much. But we got to move this up. Our goal was 1,000 by the end of the year. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But a couple days left. Maybe we can get to 800. So think about it. You know, what do you spend $5 a month on? What do you spend $10 a month on? I saw some people here saying, Jordan, we were members to another outlet. We canceled that and switched to you. I'm not advocating to cancel certain outlets, but if you are supporting another outlet that you don't feel is doing what we're doing, I would not advocate against switching your money up. I mean, I'm not trying to hurt anybody, but hey, money don't grow on trees. And I truly believe, and Jen truly believes, that politics is not going to change all that's wrong in this country. You cannot change the gross levels of income inequality, the urgent crisis, which is the inferno. I'm not even calling it the climate crisis anymore, because I don't think that really expresses it, the truth. It's the inferno. The police brutality. All these things are not going to just change with Bernie Sanders. They're not going to just change with politics. The only way you change things is if you wake more people up to what's going on. And that's what we're trying to do. We believe the more we go out in the field, the more reporting we do like this, the more stories we break, the more funding we get to hire other reporters, the more things will change. We're not miracle workers. I mean, let me divide it up here. What's 5 divided by 30? For 16 cents a day, you could support status quo. If you do it $10 a month, divided by, for 33 cents a month, you could support status quo. 33 cents a day, you could support status quo if you're a $10 member. So consider it. And the last thing, I'll remind you guys, we're doing a little 'tis the season. If you're already a member and you want to spread your membership a little further, you can sign up to sponsor people to become members. So there's a lot of people who have reached out to Jen and I saying, oh, I'm broke. If I wasn't so broke, I'd become a member. Well, we want those people to have the opportunity. So for those that want to become a member but can't afford it, email us info@statusquo.com. Let us know if you want to be sponsored. And for those that would love to sponsor those who can't afford it, even if you want to sponsor, 3 to 5 members at $5 a month, you email us if you want to be a sponsor at info@statusquo.com. Hopefully we can match make those who want sponsorships with those who can't sponsor. It makes a big difference. So, thank you, Peace Power, $5 in the super chat. I greatly appreciate all you do, Status Quo. You're handling the research and delivering us the truth in invaluable and sanity preserving. Well, we're trying, even if we lose our sanity doing it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll be back tomorrow. Remember, most people are not lacking compassion in this country. Most people have no idea what is going on. And last reminder, join our text list. 474747. Type in Coup. Peace out.